Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, Sunday edition. Streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Scotty, Sirius XM, Liquid Metal, Short Sky, and Beer Baron coming in. Coming in a pinch.
In a pinch. Wow.
I don't
pinch,
know.
what do you do? My regular spot. I got to point out something before we get started. There's somebody on Phil Betters on YouTube Live was just saying that your faces don't match your voices. First time on YouTube Live. First of all, thank you, Phil, for watching. Thank you for everybody out there for watching.
Absolutely.
On Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. But that is funny because I always find that you listen to the radio and you listen to somebody's voice for a long time, and then all of a sudden you put it on TV and you're like, the hell, that guy doesn't even look remotely close to what I thought he was going to look like.
Yeah, no, I get that. There's actually a local radio personality up here in North Jersey, and I've heard him on the radio a lot, and then I finally looked him up on his social media, and I was like, wow, that is nothing like I was expecting.
I bet you they think like Scotty's like this like jacked metalhead with like a mohawk, and meanwhile he's just this normal looking dude.
Yeah, people do tell me that all the time. They're like, oh, it's always the most flattering thing someone can say to me. They're like, oh, you're not as tall as I thought you'd be. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. Awesome.
Thank you, I think.
I can fit you in my
Cool,
backpack.
bro.
This is really weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're just average height, regular dude, like normal guy. Like, oh. Yeah, I'm like, why do I say that I have big, gigantic muscles? Like, I don't think so. I never mentioned that. So
You do say that a lot, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time.
It's obnoxious,
All the time.
actually.
Yeah.
All the time.
I love talking about myself over and over and over again. Trust me.
Well, we should be talking about the first blackout of the season.
Uh-huh.
Copywritten. Let's Go
There
Devils
you go.
Yeah,
podcast.
we all got our black jerseys on now.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. We're black apparel, Black Devils apparel.
So,
I have to
you
say-
got Short Sky. You got all blacked out, huh?
Yeah, I got the parlay jersey from the All-Star game a couple years ago. I was able to pick it up shortly over that
mine's
summer.
Mine's an old practice jersey. Mine's an old CCM practice jersey from a long time ago.
Still a good jersey. Still a good jersey.
Mm-hmm. I like
And
it. I never saw him with the blacked out logo like that.
With the parlay like this. I'll stand up and show you.
I like it.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's sweet. I love that. I love how those
Yeah,
look.
this was one of those random summer finds that I tend to get, or like the late season stuff. I tend to find decent deals. I'm kind of cheap, so I try to buy it when it's on sale. And this was one of the ones.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
No, I know. I know.
I have my all blacked out Patrick Elias jersey, but it's in the room, and my daughter decided to go to sleep in our room tonight, so I wasn't going to go and wake her up. So we'll just put on the old black sweatshirt and call it a day. But anyways, yeah, they Mackenzie Blackwood with the first blackout of the season, and I got to say, by the skin of his teeth, and I know we said it in our group chat, and you guys probably mentioned it in the post game, but if they didn't overturn that goal at the end of the game there, I think I would have thrown my phone through the TV, because that was just it was goaltender interference 101, and then Blackwood with a crazy, I mean, just by the skin of your teeth, or the skin of your toe, save to preserve that blackout there. So I mean, like, well deserved 41 save effort. Poof.
Yeah, absolutely.
This team is weird.
Yeah, they will completely mail it in. I don't want to say they'll mail it in, because it makes it sound like they're not trying, but they'll look terrible against a team like the Caps, which I know the Caps are really good. I get that. But like, they look like they can't do anything, and then they'll, the Bruins, who are arguably supposed to be right up there with the Caps, they'll play them super tight, and it'll end 1-0 like this. And it's just like, which team is gonna? It's like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type team. It's like, which team is gonna show up today? But we're Scotty and I were talking in the post game. It may be one of those situations too, where Mac Black just thrives under those high shot situations like today. 40 saves. That's nothing to shake a stick at. That's especially 17 in the third. That's exhausting. But yeah, that interference call, like, my first thought was, I would have been, if that was me, I would have been absolutely livid that Krejci was able to just drive into the net like that and just basically spear at Mackenzie's glove hand in order to break it free. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. If someone touches my glove, I tend to get a little bit I can get a little slashy at times, depending on who it is that comes in. If someone tries to,
like an old 80s horror movie, just slashing it up.
Also, I do have to question, though, like, where were the I know they were up 6-on-5, but no defenseman was there to go knock him on his ass for jamming at Mackenzie's hand like that. It just seemed like it. I don't know. I would have been, not only would I have, one, come up swinging, two, I would have been looking at my defenseman like, where were you? Like, why is he not on the ground? And it's just how I would have.
That's when Kevin Ball gets to the team. That's when that's going to start happening. When you have that aggressive 6'5" or whatever he is, Kevin Ball just clearing the crease like the old days. Yeah, hopefully that's what happens.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we talked about it in the post game as well with the Devils defensemen here. We got 3 of them that are all on expiring contracts, and we got a nice PK for anyone who really wants to take a gamble. So I have a feeling that we're going to see Ball, Ahoychuk. I don't know if we'll see Walsh yet. Definitely won't see Muhammad Dulin, but I'm thinking Ahoychuk and Ball probably by the end of the season. We're going to see those guys come up, because, like we were talking about, Shorts guy, I really believe that 2 out of the 3 defensemen will get traded. If they can swing a PK deal, I'm all for it. If not, okay, no big deal. I feel
salary
like
retention. Yeah, the only way you can get away with a PK deal is that.
I was just going to say there are a couple Canadian teams, and I know they're trying to make some moves. Montreal is one of them. There are others, up there in that Canadian division that are looking to bolster their roster come playoff time, and the Devils have a lot of guys here that could make a lot of sense for them as well. PK again is one that jumps out to me for up there on one of the Canadian teams. But Short Sky, you and I were talking about it to Boston. A Kulikov Palms package or a Kulikov Murray. Or a Palms Murray or Palms Vatanen. And a Zajac Kulikov to the Islanders. There's a lot of deals that make sense with Devils players.
There are, and I can't remember the source, but I actually saw it was an article. I didn't read too much into it because it's just a lot of rumors, but the potential of PK to Boston, which was odd. Looking at the article, they used a picture of PK in a Canadiens jersey. It's like, why would you use that
rival
picture? Exactly. Why would you use that picture?
That's lazy.
Yeah, that is lazy. Like, you at least could have, use a picture of him in our jersey. Maybe Nashville.
Nashville. Jeez.
Or that's like, we're not going to pay the rights for a picture, so we're going to find the first free one that we could use, and they go ahead and use it.
Yeah, pretty much. Which by the way, they did agree upon cutting the COVID protocol quarantine time going to Canada to 7 days.
7 days.
Oh,
so
ironically,
at the NHL trade deadline.
Well, no. This was.
That's the Canadian government.
NHL.
That's the Canadian government.
No. This was specifically for players being traded to Canadian teams. So it's not in general.
Right.
It's just this is for trades.
It's just for hockey. Yeah.
Just for hockey. But
hang on. Someone do a French accent. Come on, Beer Baron, you can do a French accent, right? We need to change the rules for the hockey games. We got the
there
trade
is
deadline.
some rules that we need to change, and these Americans cannot do it. No, that was a mishmash of a bunch of different.
That was terrible.
There is a lot of things that these people want to do, and I have to do this when I do that voice because otherwise it doesn't work. Say chowda. Anyways, chowda.
So, such a great episode.
Phil from our good friend Phil from the YouTube group says, "What about Palms for Bellows?"
Phil
Ryerson. Anyways. We're going that way, then.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah, we're going off the rails. We're going off the rails. There's a lot of teams that you can use a Kyle Palmieri. Match him up with someone. We've been matching him up with Boston just because it's East Coast. It's very close. Boston really could use that secondary scoring. They could also use a defenseman. There's just a lot of things that make sense right there. Now it also does make sense for other teams as well. So go ahead and pick out your favorite combo there, like who you'd like to, shop Palms for, who you think would be looking for them. Any teams that are up in the top, are going to be looking for some secondary scoring. Even, I don't know. I guess I've just been focusing so much on the Eastern teams here. That's what we see all the time.
Well,
Florida.
You can assume
Florida might even be looking for some.
No, they're definitely looking, but you can assume that teams from around the league are going to be calling around for certain players because even the Rangers just moved Brandon Lemieux to, I think it was the Kings for a fourth round, LA for the fourth round pick. So it's not like it's going to have to be interdivisional, although it's easier for us to kind of look at that picture because it's right in front of us. But there could be teams in the West Coast, or there could be that Canadian division, like we were talking about last week, really heating up and people really going for an arms race. It depends too. And I'll tell you what, the one good thing, and I know our good friend Nick Villano kind of said this on Twitter the other day or yesterday, whenever the Brandon Lemieux trade went through, is a fourth round pick for Brandon Lemieux is good news for the Devils, because I'll tell you what, that means it's what is it, a seller's market, a buyer's market? I never know how it works good for the Devils, and no matter which way you pull that. So
Yeah, well, it'll benefit us as the seller.
Exactly. There you go. Seller's market.
I think part of the reason why we're looking a little bit closer to home for these is due to the fact that in this COVID season, you would assume that some of these trades, if they're going to be made, they're going to try to do them for some of the established players that may have families. May do them closer to home that they can travel back to home. So I think that's why we're kind of looking more towards, like a Zajac going to someone like Long Island, or Palms going to somewhere like Boston, only because
they both have no trade clauses. They would have to waive.
They're going to have to waive. So that means you got to assume that they're going to be saying, listen, give us a list of teams, and you would have to assume that, like I said, if they have family and they're going to be wanting to be able to travel back and forth, depending on if the NHL puts, bubbles them up for the playoffs too. Like, we don't know if they're going to do that or not. I don't know if they've announced that. I do know that they announced that there's going to extend the season by a little bit, but a lot of that comes into play.
I'm just thinking, Fitzy calling someone in there, being like, "Let me tell you about a little place called Buffalo, okay?"
No, I would figure that'd be a threat. I figure it'd be a threat. So you don't want to move your no trade clause? You want to wind up in Buffalo?
Yeah, 6-23-4. I didn't realize. I mean, oh man, I hope they win one before they play us again. I don't want that pressure if we lose to them.
3 of those 6 wins. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think someone in the Facebook or the YouTube group in postgame posted the same thing there, Scotty, about hoping that they get a win before they come to us.
Yeah, seriously.
Man. But yeah, that is something too that also I wasn't even thinking about when I was putting some of my trade destinations in my head together, just automatically putting Palms up in Boston and Zajac in Long Island. But you're right, Short Guy, with their no movement clauses and all that sort of stuff. But their families, especially right now, they're gonna really be able to control where they go. So I doubt that you're gonna see someone like Zajac or Palms jump across or up north. I would see PK, however, doing something like that. PK
could you see
him and Lindsay kind of bounce around? Yeah.
No, but
could you see him?
But they're not together anymore.
No.
So he's just no. That happened.
No, they broke up before the season started.
Oh, really?
That's when everybody was like, "Oh, PK is going to have a killer season," because there was like this whole conspiracy that ever since he got together with Lindsey Vonn, that his stats took a giant dive. But I mean, weirdly enough, if you look at the timeline of it, you're like, that kind of does make sense. Or it actually does coincide. I doubt that's the reason. But
well, thanks for keeping me up on the gossip, guys. Jeez, I feel out of the loop.
Come on.
Page 6, bro. Page 6.
Seriously, you live, Scotty. You live in the gossip capital of the world.
Yeah, I know, but I ignore it. I ignore it.
Well, I mean,
no,
PK.
We do
PK going up to.
We do have to think about that. Who are guys that are going to travel like that? Who are guys that are going to want to stay a little bit closer with their families and stuff? It makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's going to happen is there's a lot of teams that are afraid to pull the trigger until it gets a lot closer to that trade deadline, which has always been weird to me in a sense. Like, I love trade deadline day in the NHL, but it's like, why do you have to? It's like turning in a paper like the day it's due. You're like, I just finished typing the last sentence and I hit print and it's due in like 5 minutes and I got to run across the campus to hand it in. There's a lot of trades that come down to that deadline. And I understand there's a lot of teams that are still like, hey, we're in the mix. We can make it. Like Buffalo is going to start blowing it up really soon. They already started. They already sent out Eric Stahl to the Canadiens, speaking of which. And they're asking a number 1 for Taylor Hall, and I can see Fitz just sitting in his office kind of laughing about that because he's like, yeah, we barely got a number 1 for him last year, and he was somewhat producing. And this year, you're not going to get jack squat. You're not going to get jack squat because you're going to get like a second-round pick or maybe like a 3rd round pick for Taylor Hall at this point because he's doing nothing and he looks miserable. But the Devils are in a good position. I mean, like, listen, you're seeing growth from this team, and we talk about that week in and week out. You want to see that growth. Palmieri scoring tonight just bolsters his trade value. And if I know there's like I forget it was Friedman or somebody put out there that the contract talks between him and the Devils aren't really working out. There's a chance that like we send him somewhere and then they're like, hey, dude, just if you want to come back, you come back next over the summer. You go get your shot at the cup. And if you want to be a part of this, you be a part of this, and we'll see you next summer. So, I mean, there's those possibilities as well.
That chance.
We were just talking about this. I mean, he is going to want to raise. Like, do you want to pay Kyle Palmieri like $5.5 million? You know,
not
if you
when
can
Dawson
get him,
Mercer's
like
lighting it up.
You know, when like Shorts Guy was saying, if you can get him on a 1-year deal, yeah, but do you want to sign him for? He's going to be looking for 4 or 5 years, you would think. At 5, you know, he's making 4.65 now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Depending on what kind of raise he's looking for.
Well, these sort of things also, if we do trade them, I think it could also be a way to do like a nice clean break as well. Much like, you know, Andy Green,
of course,
re-signed with the Islanders and everything like that. There was a lot of talk like, well, we could just bring Andy back in the offseason. If we sign him for another 2 or 3 years, you know, like it's, you know, these young guys, we need spots for them, you know? So like, that's unfortunately a thing that we're going to have to deal with, you know, maybe with Travis and with Palms as well.
Yeah. It's the hard reality of sports. You know, I'm sure, you know, there may have been thought about Andy Green coming back. I think if maybe we were in a better position, he possibly could have come back, you know, but for the players that are getting towards the end of their career and would really like to win, like within the next year or two, we're not the place to be, you know. So for Zajac to go off somewhere and win it, you know, he may be, you know, moving on is probably the best thing. So as much as we hate to see him go, but if he wants to win it sooner rather than later, like going is probably the best bet. You know, and those guys also know what's going on in this locker room, so they may also have a feel for what it's looking like, and what the chances really are realistically. So they may be able to have a better feel about where this team is going in the next year or two, and make a decision based on that too.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on here. You know, like I like where Fitzy has this team right now. We got a lot of room to make moves. We're not tied down to anybody. You know, we don't have any of those. Like he said, we want to get younger. We don't want to make that mistake of a Taylor Hall, you know, where we brought him in and then, you know, we talked about this. We jumped ahead of where we were. You know, we don't have anyone to do that right now. We're just going to build, be young, and let these guys learn and come up.
Wait, I have one name. I have a name that I want to throw out there as a hypothetical. Johnny Hockey. Do we bring Johnny Gaudreau back to the Garden State? And listen, I know you're shaking your head no, but he's on the out and out in Calgary because, you know, even Daryl Sutter, the other day, they're like, hey, do you think how Johnny Hockey in his 500th game? And he was like, yeah, he better have more energy than he had in 499. So he is clearly, there's a lot of friction going on there. I don't think he's been happy for a little while, but who knows? I'm not in his head. But I feel like he's young enough to bring into this team where it's not going to set them back. I don't think it's a Taylor Hall move. Yeah, he's a prolific scorer. He's got the big name attached to it, but at the same time, he kind of fits the mold of what this team is looking for. Look, there's a few things that this team really, really needs. And one of the things that it needs a finisher for Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes right now, he's pressing a little too much, and he needs somebody that's going to be able to like complement him, right? So I know this whole like let's just keep building and doing it the right thing. I agree with all that stuff, but there's a lot of mystery in what we have, right? Dawson Mercer's lighting it up right now, but he's lighting it up in a league that's not the NHL. Alexander Holtz, there's a lot of mystery going on right now because he's not having a great season, but there's also a lot of talk that his coach is not really playing him the right way. And there's a lot of things that are, kind of maybe not playing in his favor right now. So, I mean, there's a lot of talent that we have coming in the pipeline, but don't you want to have like a proven goal scorer on this team? Don't you, instead of like relying on like, hey, let's do this whole youth before you shake your head,
Mhm.
do you think that it's important for this team to have somebody that's established that can actually score? Because if we're going to rely on this whole youth movement, there's a chance that we're going to sit here and keep like, yeah, we're building. And then all of a sudden Jack Hughes is like, yo, I'm a UFA piece at the end of the year. I'm just saying,
He's
man.
He's not going to be a UFA for a while. I'm pretty sure that Fitzy is not going to just let him walk unless he is an absolute 100% bust. I see bringing in Johnny Hockey as doing the same exact thing as bringing in Taylor Hall. You've just brought in someone who's years above where our development is, and he's not going to want to sit around and wait 3 years and waste his prime, waiting for a team to come into fruition. Maybe if it was 3 years from now, sure. But right now, I couldn't think of why he would want to come here.
Because he wants to come home.
There's other teams.
Well,
why would
he misses his mom's cooking?
Well,
why wouldn't he want to go play in like Colorado or something like that instead?
I get it. I understand, but I'm just saying.
And in reality, he's from South Jersey, so he's probably a Flyer fan anyway. So
he is a Flyers
fan.
fan.
Yeah.
He is a Flyers fan.
But then again, the Flyers are. I want to say the Flyers are as big, if not a bigger dumpster fire than we are with their
worse.
Their performances against the Rangers and Kata Hot, who's a mess. I don't. So he's 27 now. He'll be 28 at the beginning of next season, and he's.
I didn't realize he was that old. Jesus.
Yeah, it's like Palmieri all over again, basically.
He's essentially It's so Palmieri's 30. Let's say we brought him in, we would get him coming in at 1 year left in his deal at 28, and then we would have to figure out if we were going to re-sign him going forward at 29, and what do you give him as far as term? So,
all right, dude, I rescind everything I said.
And what did Kyle come? He came in when he was 26, right? It was like the same thing. We got him. He wanted to prove himself, and I feel like it'd be the same thing. Like Kyle's getting his big contract now, and Johnny's going to get the same thing soon too. It's
you know what? You're right.
But
Kyle came in on a rebuild. Kyle came in on our rebuild, and now we're going to bring Johnny in on our second half, our rebuild of our rebuild.
Well, and he's currently getting $675 a year in this current contract. So that's much more than Palmieri. Especially for, I think last season, what was I looking at the stats? Last season he had, where'd it go? Stats. Here we go. Last season he had 18 goals. 6.75 million, 18 goals.
Yeah, 13. I rescind my comment.
If you can get me Matt,
I backpedal. I'm backpedaling faster than a cornerback in the NFL right now. Just okay. Pretend that didn't happen.
Get me 23-year-old Matthew Tkachuk instead. I'll take that. I'll go with that. You work that deal?
So I don't think we can.
So there's So there's a good point, and once again, our friend Phil on the YouTube live group. Our YouTube live. First of all, Phil,
Ned,
me, Ned Ryerson. So Phil and our good friend Phil over here on the YouTube live group said the Devils need size outside of Canada. Mm-hmm. Every division is led by a heavy team. That is damn sure. And we look at what would happen when we play a heavy team like the Capitals. If the Capitals get a 1-goal lead on us, we can't catch up. We can't break through. Yeah. We can have the Capitals, we have to play absolutely perfect against them. We play really good against Boston. We play really good against the Penguins, although we only saw the Penguins 3 times. But irregardless, we still played really good against them. But big heavy team.
let's also point out we're playing those teams. I'll say it, we're minus our best player, but both those teams are minus some of their best players as well.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
But my point being is I kind of agree that, we talk about Nolan Foote, who's a bigger kid. We talk about Ball, who's
then why you want to bring in
bigger kid.
Johnny Hockey? Why are you trying to
just
bring Johnny
him up?
Hockey
I told you
over here?
I backpedaled.
Why are you trying to bring in Johnny Hockey?
Because I rescinded it.
Backpedal,
It didn't happen.
I think we got to get bigger because we do. We get pushed around, and when you
We're
get
in
to
a
the
paddle
playoffs,
boat right now, and I'm like, oh, there's an alligator over there. Let's get out of here. I'm just going backwards. So listen, we
gonna make it to
backpedaled
the
out of that.
we got to be able to handle those bigger teams like that. It will someday when we get there. We got to be able to handle those big teams, or else we're just going to get dominated and pushed around for like 5 games, and we're going to lose a series like 4-1. Like that's going to be it.
Looking at the barometer of the Washington Capitals being the team that we can't beat, you look at a team like the Islanders who are defensively sound, and even the Islanders feel like they're heavier than we are. I mean, they
are.
My biggest thing
they
is
just toyed
when
with
you
us
watch
last time we played them. They just kind of like waited around, and the third period came, and they're like, "All right, time to turn it on, and let's go, guys. Let's go, boys. Let's go win this one." And that was it. Like they just let us hang around for 2 periods, and then it was done. Like Capitals just brutalize you because Tom Wilson just comes at you, and so does Ovi like the entire game. And the Capitals are they're just outrageously ginormous with Ovi, Wilson, Oshie, Chara, Carlson, Dylan, Orlov. I mean, we were going through it. Me and George Scott were going through this. They're like so unbelievably stacked.
Dude, Vrana has our number this year. Vrana has our number, and Orlov. Orlov. If you've seen some of the hits, like if you watch some of the, if you watch the play, Orlov. Oh, I know. I was very disappointed. I'm like, Mikey, you're not a small kid. You eat your life cereal. Get out there. He likes
someone.
So anyway,
I think it was Daniel on our Facebook page said that was Stevens-esque. That hit was a monster.
Back it up. No. Let's not give somebody a Stevens credit. It was a big hit. Did Mikey get up and he continue to shift and didn't have one of those like coming back to life moments with his visor going all foggy? No.
Maybe you did. I think your
I
heart
was
dropped
like, my
there.
boy. Of course it did. Somebody help my boy.
Speaking of the speaking of Daniel in the Facebook group, he threw out there about Taves for Palmieri. I don't think Palmieri's going to want to. Yeah.
I don't. What? Yeah, I don't think Chicago's doing that.
I don't know. I mean, plus he's on injury reserve. I don't know the status of his injury right now. At 10-5
contract.
That contract, I'm looking at it now. He's 32 and he's guaranteed 10-5 this year, next year, and the year after. And I think if Palmieri is going to give a list of cities to get traded to, I think he's going to give a list of cities that are a little bit more that have a better chance to win the cup than Chicago, because Chicago is just potentially going to squeak in at that 4th. What are they? I just had those standings up. I always go back from a page when I need it, but Chicago is currently sitting in 4th in their division, and I don't really think that they have a realistic shot.
They're really close too.
Yeah, it's 37. They have 37 points.
Oh,
Nashville's
that's
35.
actually,
Columbus is 34.
And actually, the Preds are up here 2-0 with a minute to go in the second.
They are, yeah.
So
they're getting hot.
So hot. Well, that's looking like they'll be tied in points right then and there. I don't know what the tiebreaker. Yeah. Oh well, the Preds have more actual wins, so the Preds will jump up into that 4th spot, right? If this game continues this way.
I think if Palmieri and Zajac, if they do put in for a list of teams to move to, they're gonna move. They're gonna want to go to teams that have the potential to win the cup. Now, here's a thought for a potential trade. So for a potential trade with Chicago, though. What about the potential of PK to Chicago to go play with his brother?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Where are they going to fit him though? Where are they going to fit him on that payroll?
We would have to take either a terrible contract back, so that's where you would see a Taves come back. Like you would take like a PK for Taves contract would make a little sense.
That would make a little more sense depending. depending
I'm like
on
then we're
only
his
money
injuries.
wise. But I don't know how much. I think what is Taves at, like 10? You got to look at the contracts, because if the contracts
Taves is
are
a
if it's a
10-5.
wash, it's a wash.
So Taves is a 10-5. So is Patrick Kane. Not like we're gonna do a 1-for-1 swap, Kane for PK or Taves for PK. But you know, I mean, that is a possibility. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. If PK is willing to go to Chicago, you know, go play with his brother, you know, we can potentially find someone to trade, you know, PK to them for.
How about we bring Malcolm over to back up Mac Black instead? I don't know. I don't know. Are you? I feel like we're so close to getting out of the PK contract, and if we trade, I mean, just I know this is all hypothetical, but if you trade him for K's, then you've just put 2 more years onto that salary cap.
I'm using Taves as an example. Since Daniel in the Facebook group threw that out there, but it's the potential is there to where we could move. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. He may want to go play with his brother. I think we have a glut of goaltenders. We have a glut of goaltenders, and I don't know if I would take Malcolm Subban over any of the top 3 that we have between Blackwood, Wedgwood, and Dell. I don't know if he'd be.
I'd take him over Dell. I probably wouldn't take him over Wedgwood though.
Yeah, Wedgwood. No, I don't even know if I would take him over Dell. But I mean that's possible because I'm looking at his contract now. He's not even $1 million, which is a ton of money. But he's also not a UFA until 22-23. So almost at the end of PK's deal. So we would have to trade for him. I just don't know what we would trade to. I mean, unless we did a Subban for Dell swap, and then if that's the case, then Dell's pads better be listed somewhere online.
Better sell them.
Buy them. Sell them to me.
Yeah,
Sell them
exactly.
to me, and then
we'll do a GoFundMe to get those too. By the way.
Oh my gosh, we can. I'll wear them. We'll take some promo photos with the new merch that we got coming in soon, which hopefully within the next 2 weeks would be nice.
Nice. It's interesting. There's a lot of teams out there, like we said. But I could, now that I'm thinking about it as well, just Tampa, Carolina, Florida. Those teams are looking locked there. Tampa with 50 points. Carolina and Florida are 49-48. Those teams, and they're going to be, looking to bolster their rosters as well. That's not so far away. Toronto. So I don't know what Toronto is going to have any wiggle room to do anything. Winnipeg and Edmonton are looking pretty solid, but the Islanders, the Bruins, Tampa, Carolina, those seem to be the teams. I don't know, where I feel like we're probably going to see some movement.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to keep an account to how much the money they have available and how much they're going to take on and all that kind of stuff. And then you got to make all that money kind of fit and work and all that kind of stuff. So you look at Tampa Bay, and they're trying to wiggle a room because they want to have Kucherov come back. So when Kucherov comes back, I don't know if he counts against their cap right now. He does, right? Even though he's on IR or LTIR or whatever it's called.
In the playoffs, it may not matter. I think there's some kind of a weird rule where if he comes back in the playoffs, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, which they're totally circumventing the cap right now, which is complete BS, and we've talked about it. But the only reason I know what the word circumventing the cap means is thanks, Kovalchuk. But anyways,
they may be looking. I know they've been doing a good job of getting away with it here, but they may be forced to make a move at some point. We're a team that can take on a little bit more of that cap room. So I don't know. I just also see Tampa is a very exciting destination for players to go to. That's a place where you can say,
nice, no taxes.
Well, the team is awesome as well. They're really good.
That.
Who would not in the NHL if they're like, hey, you want to go play for Tampa? I got room for you. You're gonna say no. You're gonna say yeah. Be right there.
Mm-hmm.
What next plane can I get on? I'll be yes. I'm packing right now. You're not going to turn down an offer to go to Tampa. They're just too good.
Well, yeah, you have a chance to potentially win the cup every single season with the way they're playing right now. So why would you not?
Right now,
You're right.
yeah.
I mean, on
Yeah.
on top of that, like, the weather and the tax situation is also something that you want to take into consideration too. But overall, you have a chance to potentially win the cup every single season right now with the way they're playing.
Yeah.
So but it's a matter of, one, are they going to have the space, and two, what edge are they looking for in order to, what are they looking for as an edge to potentially repeat? I mean, they would have to edge. It's very tight down there, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's that fourth spot but it's 1, 2, 3 that are going to be tight. I mean, there's 2
real
points
tight
between first and third. If anything, I could see. I mean, I could potentially see Florida trying to gain a more of a competitive advantage to try to jump up to second or first and to be someone that we can trade with versus Tampa. But with Tampa being as high as they are and as high as they have been, they may be more willing to give up that first round pick for someone in exchange because it's essentially the beginning of the second round anyway with having won the Stanley Cup. It's, I don't know. I would think Carolina and Florida would be more in the running to get that edge over Tampa, than Tampa trying to get someone to retain, because obviously they're good enough to win the cup because they did it not so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So Carolina's got Seth Jarvis, which is one of the, I think he's like the top 3 prospects in the entire NHL right now. They're like really pushing. I mean, they're, like you said, it's that top 3 in that division. It's 50, 49, and 48 as it stands right now. If they are desperate enough, could the Devils put a package together to pry away somebody like that? I know, that's one of the things that a lot of people talk about. Draft picks and this and that. And yeah, let's get a first round draft pick. What about top tier prospects? I'd rather a top tier prospect like Cole Caulfield. You want? Hey, listen. If
No.
Montreal is
get him out of,
listen.
Get him out of your head. Get him out of your head. Get him out of your
listen,
head.
I know. I understand. Listen.
This
is what I'm saying.
Do you want all of our team to be like 5'8" and under?
Oh God, no, I don't. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to say. I'm just pointing somebody out. I'm pointing somebody out.
You're moving from every small player like around the league. Who else? Are you gonna get? Like Spud Webb is gonna come back and play hockey. You're gonna try and get him on the Devils.
He could dunk. All right, he could dunk. You better watch your mouth. You better put some respect on that man's name. He could dunk. Can you dunk? No, you can't. He's shorter than you, and he could dunk.
I'm not a basketball player, right? How about that? I'm not an NBA player.
It doesn't matter. He could dunk. You leave him alone. You leave Spud's name out of this. You don't talk about Spud Webb. You don't talk about Spuds McKenzie. You don't talk about any Spuds. Not even a potato, you. Anyways. But
I like where you're going with Jarvis.
Top prospect. Yes, but Seth Jarvis. Yes. But even Seth Jarvis is not a huge kid. But you look at some of the top prospects that some of these teams have, and the reason why I brought up Cole Caulfield is because Montreal sitting at 37 points with, Calgary right on their heels. That is a top prospect. So would a team be willing to trade with the Devils? Let me rephrase that. Do we have the package that we could pry away a top prospect like that? You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
I hope so.
I mean, we're gonna have to sacrifice somebody, but I totally think that we can do that. I mean, I think we're gonna have to give up one of our youngins, but I think we could totally do that.
So, Shorts guy, would you give up? I'm gonna put a complete hypothetical out there.
Okay.
And we'll stick with Seth Jarvis because that's the name of the second, right? Carolina comes to us and they said, we'll give you Seth Jarvis for Palmieri and a first-round pick. Do you do it? Maybe not even this year's first round. Maybe you can do next year's first round. That's a weird-ass trade, and it's a hypothetical, but it's just a hypothetical.
That is a very weird.
Seth Jarvis in a fourth or something like that.
It would depend. A first round, I think no, because as of right now, we're looking unfortunately like we're gonna have a decent first round pick this year. Maybe a
unfortunately.
maybe a second round pick would be a potential. But then again, we have to remember, it may not be so much with a player like Palmieri about a team coming and saying, "Hey, would you take this?" It would be the team coming to us, and then us going to Palmieri. Hey, would you like to go here? So it doesn't really matter how good the package and how lucrative the package may be to us. It's got to be cleared by Palmieri. A player like him is going to have all of the power in the world. I don't know if I would take that in a first rounder. I don't. No, Palmieri in a first rounder. I don't think so.
What do you think, Scotty? Well, I mean, like, I'm not saying like. First of all, it's a weird thing to say, like Palmieri in a first, and then we'll give you our top prospect. But let's see. I'm trying to go down the list. I'm looking at all these, like Byram from Colorado, but I doubt that would ever happen.
No,
they'll never get him. I mean, it's got to be.
They'll never do that.
It's got to be. I don't know. I don't know if I foresee. I think we do have the stuff to make those moves. Because I do. I mean, I think that some of I'm going to go by what I said last week. If your name is not Ty, Jack, or Nico, you can be had for the right price. So for me, if we had a package that included someone younger, like a Jesper Bratt, like a Miles Wood, something like that, if it's for right prospect, like a can't miss, top 5 type of prospect in the draft, that sort of deal, I'm all about it. Pull the trigger on it. I'm good with that.
I'm going to say that
that's me.
That Blackwood is on that list to make 4. I don't think there's any way that they trade Blackwood. It would have to be. It would
what
have
if you
to be
could get
like.
What if you could get a young established goalie? Would you trade Mac Black for someone who has a big contract? Who's a goalie with a pretty big contract that we can take on
with it right now? Like an expiring where you're like, oh God, this guy again?
No, but just someone with a big you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Like, relate that to goalies. Someone might be willing to make us.
But how often? But that's not a trade that you see that often, right? You don't see a team trade away like a top tier goaltender.
No,
I don't think ever.
No,
I don't think
the
last
that's a
one.
summer move.
Okay,
the last one.
Call the Islanders. All right. Hey, Roberto Luongo. See you later. Hey, Zdeno Chara.
Well,
yeah, we don't need you.
No. That's different.
That's not.
They weren't established.
Deadline day.
No.
I mean,
Luongo also went from Vancouver to Florida, right? Or was it the other way around?
From Florida to Vancouver.
Florida, Long Island to
Where did Miller go?
Back to Florida.
Where did Ryan Miller go? Ryan Miller went from Buffalo to where?
Buffalo to Anaheim.
Went to Buffalo to Anaheim. Fleury went from Pittsburgh to Vegas. I mean,
yeah,
but
that
happens.
Could you
it happens.
That Vegas
thing.
thing.
Deadline.
Say we could get someone like a Marc-Andre Fleury, like Vegas did, like maybe like 4 years ago. So say someone who's maybe if there was a goalie that's like 27, 28.
Yeah, but
they come to you and ask you for a Mac Black. Would you pull the trigger?
Yeah, but why would they do that? Yeah, but why would they do like?
I'm not saying. I'm saying hypothetical. I'm saying hypothetical. Completely hypothetical.
Hypothetically, if we were going to get an established goaltender that we could potentially win 2 years sooner, then yeah, you have to look at that trade because Blackwood is still trying to prove himself.
Exactly. He's not proven yet. We like what we see, but he's not proven.
But we're still in the process of building that, right?
No, we are still in the process of building that, and I know it would never happen, but the only if it would never happen, but if the Jets came and say, hey, here's Hellebuck, and we'll take Mac Black, and player X, Y, and Z back. I mean, at that point, yeah, you have to. Like, that's a trade you have to do. As long as it doesn't deplete your, what you have in your roster. But he's really the only one that comes to mind,
Okay.
Would
That's
be
fair. And
Hellebuck.
I'm just throwing out like hypothetical in that sense as well.
Yeah,
Because
no, I get it.
if you're Mac Black, you'd probably be like, well, it's better established defense over here in Winnipeg. I'd be excited about that opportunity, like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And having someone really established in net for us would also take a lot of pressure off some of our young defensemen coming up too. So there's other ways to think about it. But I'm just being devil's advocate here. That's all.
So I can see someone potentially swooping in and trying to take Wedgwood to solidify a goaltending core for a playoff run. I mean, I could even potentially see Tampa Bay coming in to make a trade to bring him back because he's now, I would say Wedgwood has established himself as a pretty solid NHL goaltender, not as a starter, but as a good solid backup and can play well when needed. I could see someone swooping in, say, hey, listen, here's what we got. We need someone to shore up our goaltending. What do you think this for Wedgwood? So that potential is there. So we'll see. I don't know if anyone would come in, but even potentially Dell. I've liked what I've seen out of Dell. He's not a starter caliber, but he's done well. So I don't know. And then at that point, then we could bring Malcolm Subban in, and then there's going full circle back to what we were talking about earlier. And that need for a backup goalie to
folks in the world of comedy. It's sad that this is the conversation that we have to constantly have is the what's going to happen in a couple of weeks of is this team going to get blown up or are we going to say goodbye to Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac and players of that like, and it's depressing and it's kind of like whatever. But I thought of something talking about all these hypotheticals and just kind of like coming up with like, hey, would you even a Mac Black trade? Obviously like I think Patrick Lalime is a name that comes to my mind when you think about like a goaltender that had a lot of potential that was ended up traded from. I think Pittsburgh had him and then ended up trading him because he was like unhappy there, and there, ended up like he ended up being a pretty solid goaltender. And then we beat him. We beat him in 2003 when it mattered.
Yeah.
And I think he always had the Marvin the Martian helmet too, if I remember correctly. But,
yes, he did.
But you think about like some of these big trades. So let me just throw a crazy hypothetical, and let's just. It doesn't matter. I wear it like this every week. Like every week. It's the same thing. So, a hypothetical, Jack Hughes is like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. Listen, this is all hypothetical, so don't anybody jump down my throat like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Some team is like, yo, we'll give you like 3 number 1s for Jack Hughes. Do you do it? Do you pull the trigger? And listen, I'm obviously saying no, I would never do this in a million years, but nobody's untouchable, right? Technically, nobody's untouchable. So if a team like, I don't know, because his contract's still pretty friendly right now, right? So let's say a team like Toronto is like, oh, we'll give you the next number 3. We'll give you 3 number 1s for Jack Hughes right now. Do you pull the trigger on something as crazy as that?
I mean, I have Jack, Nico, and Ty in my untouchable list. They're the ones that I won't listen to any offers
I understand.
For.
I'm saying, would you?
Nope.
Would you even consider it? Not even for a second.
Nope.
There's nothing that would budge you. There was nothing that would budge you off of Jack Hughes.
No, because I don't think anyone would offer anything like that right now.
All right, so the Florida Panthers the Florida Panthers offer you Knight, who's a hell of a goaltending prospect. They offer you Knight, and even though Ekblad just had this crazy leg injury, they offer you Knight, Ekblad, and like 2 number 1s for Jack Hughes. Do you do it?
Again, I have him in my no touch, my no go zone. So I mean, Jack, Ty, Nico.
Where did they touch you on a doll? Showing a doll.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like I'm not interested in trading those three. Everyone else, if I'm blown away, like I said, I would have to be blown away for something for like Mac Black. I don't want to trade him because he does look really good. But you never know what goalies. If someone came along with like a Hellebuck, like you said, then like, yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that idea. But other than that, I don't even really want to trade Pavel Zacha anymore, like because I really like what he brings to the table. But others, I'm kind of, Mac Black and Pavel Zacha are my other two that I'm like, anyone else? Damon Severson. I know you guys get down on me, but I say Jesper Bratt. I think he could be someone that's sent away in a nice package plan for somebody eventually. Obviously, PK, Kulikov, Murray, Vatanen, Will Butcher. Obviously, Will Butcher seems to have fallen out of favor with the coaching staff. It's been a while since we've seen him on the ice. So if anyone, could blow, I'll accept blowaway offers for Zacha and Blackwood, but Ty, Jack, Nico, no thank you. They're staying right where they are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Because you know what, you say, oh, we're gonna get three first overall picks or 3 first round picks, I should say. A team that's because there's no guarantee. Who was it? Adam in the Facebook group makes a great point. Not every draft class is the same. Nor is every draft class good.
True.
And on top of that, if a team starts to do a lot better, those first round picks start to turn pretty crappy. Not to say that it's if they do really well, we're picking in the high 20s, close to 30, where whatever, and you're closer to the second round than the first round. So there's just no guarantee that whoever you make that deal with is not going to all of a sudden do good, and then those picks turn to low second round picks versus first round picks. So there's no way.
What's funny is I don't know if we've brought this up recently, but I was looking at this the other day, talking about the draft, and yes, Scotty, to answer your question, yes. You realize that we've won the lottery 3 times recently? Mm-hmm. Can you name all 3 times?
I don't remember the first.
That's easy. Right?
Yeah, Nico. I can't remember the first one, but we didn't move all the way up, right? We won it, but we were only allowed to move.
We moved to 4.
Oh,
that's
Larson.
what it was.
Adam Larson, yeah. Which is funny because Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was the first overall pick that year, but Adam Larson, we actually won the lottery for that, but we were only allowed to move up to the 4th pick.
We won twice with him.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, not really. So,
for 1 year.
For 1 year, yeah. For one glorious year. So you look at the draft and you look at what this team could do in the draft and where they're sitting at right there, like right now. I hope this is one of the last years that we have to talk about like the, top draft picks that are going to be coming in, the possibilities of winning the lottery, because after next year, all this is going to change. And I think even in this year, they limited it from 3 to 2. So there's not 3 teams that are going to move up. It's only 2. So, the Rangers can't get that extra special
weighted ball.
That's a good way to put it.
I think we're moving out of that bottom 5, range, and we're moving into more of the middle tier, which,
but we only have to stay in the top 10.
Wise. I know.
Bottom 10.
Yeah, the bottom 6. Yeah, but I think we're moving out of that real bottom range there, where you typically have the best shot to win the lottery every single year. I think the Devils are moving away from that.
We're moving away.
We're moving
away for sure.
Yeah. So if we do win it again, because when we did win with Adam, it was dumb luck. Like we had like one of the lowest percentages to win that year. Hence why we only moved up to the 4th
we were picking
spot.
11th.
Yeah,
11th
something
that
like
year?
that. It was crazy. I do recall that. And then, so I have a feeling that that's where we're moving. So I don't think we're going to be getting these really super top tier prospects unless Fitzy starts pulling some moves to, kind of like slide up there in the draft or something
Torpedo
like
the
that.
team.
No, I mean, like,
that's not
I
happening.
He just starts like.
I don't think you can torpedo. Like, listen, they don't play super well all the time, but I think there's enough talent on this team, and you're seeing it that, the Zakas, even though Jack is having some bad games, teams have to watch him. Every second he is on the ice, the defense has to see where is Jack Hughes. He's making some mistakes, but he opens the game up for other. He is always capable.
Yeah.
We're seeing it with Sharon Govich. We're seeing it with Kuokkanen. We're seeing Zajac, even though he's having like his little, resurgence here. If he moves on, we do feel that we have other people like Zacha who can move into that role. Bring some other guys up from the AHL club. Like, I don't think we're bad enough that we can torpedo the team that far down. I mean, I guess if we sell everybody, but I mean, obviously, but I don't think Fitzy is going to give those players away like that.
So listen, we're getting into the last or final thoughts section because I hear the music coming in. I see Sam is here. So whenever Sam shows up and the music shows up, it's time to wrap up. But I'm just going to jump the gun. I'm going to say my final thoughts right now. I am very proud to say that the Let's Go Devils podcast is how do I put this? We are the sole owner of the Mackenzie Blackwood Blackout, so we have the rights to that. Just so nobody goes out there and tries to steal it from us, like like always. Sharon Govich. Anyways, so congratulations to Mackenzie Blackwood on his first shutout of the season, and way to bounce back because they were shut out for the first time this entire season. Last game, come back and bounce back for a 1-0 victory. So good for them.
So do you really think in Mackenzie Blackwood's entire life, he never had a shutout and one of his friends never called it a blackout?
Never.
Never. That's never happened before? That's never...
Nope. Just
never?
like Sharon Govich has never been called Sharon Govich. No, never. Never.
I'm sure.
Not once, not never.
Never.
Not once, not never. Whose chair is that?
Okay.
Not my chair. I don't care.
Okay. My final thoughts for this week is cha-ching. Palmieri, keep scoring so we can get more back for you. Okay? Cha-ching. Zajac, keep racking up those assists. Keep racking up those face-off wins. Cha-ching. Kulikov. Just stay out of Mackenzie Blackwood's and Scott Wedgwood's way there, so people think you're a really good defender. Okay, Vatanen, don't get hurt. Ryan Murray, don't give up anything crazy. Cha-ching. Come on, Sam Wu. Cha-ching.
I don't have that on my board.
Yeah, you used to. You used to. What happened? Just play Where's the Beef. That'll be all right.
Cha-ching. Cha-ching. That's my final thought. Cha-ching.
My final thought is very simple. Do it again against Boston.
There you go.
On Tuesday. Do it again.
Here are my thoughts. I thought the Devils played relatively well against the Capitals. I thought they played relatively well tonight. Aside from that shutout loss against the Caps, I think the Devils were really gassed on the second half of the back-to-back, plus the Capitals being well-rested before that series. I think the only difference between the Capitals and Boston is Chara. And I think you're seeing that right now because having that defenseman back there is the shutdown D guy with experience, size, and presence.
Yep.
So I don't think the Devils are far off of solving the Capitals. And we may see that this upcoming week. But I think the Devils are now starting to learn how to win in tough sequences. And we take that to the next game.
Okay.
It's very well said.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I've been sitting here but last 45 minutes behind the scenes thinking of something to say because I've been screwing up all night.
Pontificating.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody on YouTube Live for watching, participating, Facebook Live, and this is the last Let's Go Devils podcast Sunday edition on Periscope, as Periscope will be offline on Thursday forever. So I want to thank everybody at
What a
Periscope.
joke.
But we have a plan for Twitter. It'll start on April 1st. Well, going to drop the podcast at midnight. Catch us on the Woo Report, or me on the Woo Report tomorrow, and post game on Tuesday. Till next time, let's go Devils.